Hey everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk, all things audio in the plugin world with us, your friends here at Music Marketing TV. My name is Carlo Libertini, and I'm super excited. We're going to be kicking tires with Baby Audio's first virtual instrument that they've ever created. Now, they're famous for effects and compressors and such. So I have to tell you, this virtual instrument is no less going to disappoint you. I'm super excited. Let's jump right in and take a listen to some of the tracks and ideas and tones that we're going to be working with and crafting today. It's not a drum machine, it's a virtual instrument right here. It is beautiful to look at and inspired by a really retro hardware analog synth from the early 80s. And much like yourselves out there who may already own this or want to try it, it is not going to disappoint you, guaranteed, because it has, dare I say, its own feel and characteristic about it, which I love in audio plugins, especially from Baby Audio. They each have almost the same kind of feel to them where you want to dive in, you want to be creative, and it really inspires you to want to spend more time with it. And that's exactly what we're going to do right here. Okay, now as you can see, I've got a number of MIDI tracks here. As I mentioned, it is a virtual instrument, and it is modeled after a classic piece of analog early 80s hardware. So, you know, what I love about the early, the 80s in general is a lot of those tones was like, they're like the grandfather of synth, I should say. Well, you could go back to the great grandfathers and such, but there's a lot of creativity and evolution that began in the 80s. And a lot of those tones are still completely usable today. Now, this will do that and more. Now, what we're looking at here is I've got 3 tracks of MIDI, and let's open up the plugin again. Here we go on track number 4. Now, as you can see, I've actually color-coded my track to match the one that it is on. That's a workflow tip for you. So let's talk about that. When it comes about workflow, virtual instruments should be no less innovative. That's why I admire innovations like this from Baby Audio, because look, from here, I can literally change. I've got 4 options to change the color of the plugin. So I know that if I'm looking at this color version, I'm on track 4. If I'm on track 5, I'm looking at this color version, which kind of matches that one. It's something you don't have to do, but I really like that again as a workflow advancement. And here it is on track 6, which would be the orange version, my favorite color. Now you've got a graphical display here, which is great. You can actually see and entertain yourself with some of the waveforms in action, but it's basically designed in sections. So let's take them one section at a time. Now, the first one obviously is going to be the oscillator section. Let's go to a different track right here, and let's jump right in. Nice. So when you open it up by default, it's going to look like this. If you do want to contour this, again, you can choose different colors from here, and you can also change the size of the plugin, which is super handy. It's variable. This is great because of your higher resolution monitors these days. I'm filming this in 4K. So why not look at this beautiful plugin in high resolution? All right, especially in my favorite color of orange. Now, starting here, you can obviously jump in with the presets. There are, I believe, over 500 included, over 500 included presets. And you can see that they're arranged here by numbers and kind of by descriptions, and of course by your own user bank. And a lot of these are super fun to dive in with. For example, if you want some bass tones or pads or lead tones or plucks, I recommend always starting with presets because it's a fun way to kind of experience the variable sounds that you can get from a new virtual instrument like this. And oftentimes it's a good jumping off point to start your own creativity. You know, get yourself in the ballpark and jump right in. Let's go to, let's Let's try the first preset here. Nice. Let's try this one called Droplet Pluck. How about we go to some synth drones? How about Space Invader? This is just so much fun. And back to the first bank with analog Brass Baby. And so don't be afraid to experiment with presets and make it your own. Let's talk about that. When you jump in with presets and you can contour them once you get familiar with how to use the BA-1 here from Baby Audio, definitely start your own user bank by saving your own presets. And we're going to talk about this regen button down here in just a little bit. A super awesome feature. Well thought out, Baby Audio. Bravo. So let's start at the very top. Now we do have our real-time graphical display here, but we've got the oscillator section. Now, unlike the original analog keyboard that this was modeled after, this is going to give you two oscillators. If you want to just use one oscillator, you can slide this up to the top. Or if you want the second oscillator or something, a blend of them in between. All right. Now, why is that? Well, both oscillators share similar features, but they also have characteristics that are unique to themselves. So if you want a characteristic that's only unique, let's say here with the octave mode or the fine mode, here when you're setting the pitch, that's available on oscillator 2. Let's start on oscillator 1 and let's crossfade. What you're hearing now is oscillator 1. I'll raise the pitch a little bit to prove it. You can adjust the shape right here of the waveform. Again, we're just listening to oscillator 1 right now. Square and a hook. And it even has, yes. And let's go to oscillator 2 now. I'll slide it all the way down. Now we're listening to just the oscillator 2 here. This means you could actually have a blend of two independent oscillators as well as just one unique one. Really great starting off place. So, which leads me to want to point out up here some of the important setting features. You can reset the entire plugin right here. So don't be afraid to have fun. Fool around with this. Really push some sliders around and dare yourself to just be extra creative, because you could never ever get back to where you started. Just hit this reset button and you'll bring it back to default setting. Now this is going to be your polyphonic mode or your monophonic mode. So if you want more of a multi-timbral audio to work with, leave it in polyphonic. If you want to work in a more monophonic, single notes, leave it in a monophonic mode. And here you can turn on the velocities on and off, and you can map it to a MIDI control system here. So here's your valuable settings, and these are all going to be what you want to work with probably before you jump right in or as you're working with the oscillator section. That's why I wanted to point that out first. All right, so you got those settings right there. Again, don't be afraid to have fun. You can always reset it with this button right there. All right, let's bring in our oscillator 1 and 2 and see where we're at. Love it. So each one you'll see you can adjust the pitch. You've got the octave and the speed. And then here with the octave mode, you can adjust this in fine-tuning semitones. You can see the pitch referencing here in real time in the display. So you can fine-tune it more. Right here. Or move it in semitones. Just like that. Now, you can obviously control clicking on a PC to bring them back down to default. And to start with, there is a gliss, and this gliss will actually work with both. It doesn't affect one oscillator, it'll affect both of them. And the glissando is going to add a bit of a slide between those notes, if you will. Let's check it out. It sounded more and more 80s by the second. I'll leave that one all the way off for now. So when you contour your initial tones here with the oscillator, 1 or 2 or both, that's really going to be the heart of where your tones are going to come from. But you're going to find yourself moving on to the filter in the envelope section, probably coming back to those oscillators as you create your tones. Now, let's move on to the FM section. This is also a feature that wasn't included in the original hardware, because remember, this isn't cloning a hardware synth. This is inspired by that original synth in that era, the early 80s. So it's really inspired by that, and it's giving you way more. Now, I should say that if this is your first time maybe stepping foot into the synth world, or even if you're a professional, this BA-1 by Baby Audio is a great way for anyone to get started. So perhaps you're a parent with young kids and they want to start learning or experiencing, programming and creating their own synth tones. BA-1 is a great starting point for them, because whether you're a professional just getting started, this is really fun and easy to use and super creative. All right, so there's some advice for you right there. So when you dial in tones with the FM here, it's going to work based off of oscillator 1. Okay, let's do this. It's going to add more richness. See, without it, it sounds very kind of staccato and bright. When elevating it can add a little bit more richness and smooth it out, but I definitely recommend trying this for yourself, because it's going to give you different results every time based on the unlimited amount of settings you can choose between these oscillators. So let's find a setting we like. There. And I'm at, as you can see by the real-time display, plus 23 there. Now next, we're going to have a filter section. So you can have a cutoff. This is our resonance and our envelope. Of course, if I don't apply any cutoff, the notes, the richness will ring out longer. It's a really powerful slider, because especially when you're working in context with other musical material. I mean, let's talk about this. You're obviously going to have your virtual instrument playing back with maybe some bass tones, some other polyphonic tones like piano, maybe some monophonic elements like some vocals, and you want it to fit in the mix. Well, having the right cutoff value can do that. That way the notes don't bleed into other notes, creating mud. This is a really powerful slider here. I love that. It's super easy to use. Just dial it in and then stop when it feels right. I like it right there. There. So all of this is about literally experiencing the sound and stopping when it feels good, just as I mentioned. You can adjust the resonance. There. And the envelope, let's see. Just the whole filter section, it may be one of the most creative parts of this, because once your oscillator sections are set, and you adjust the smoothness and the, with the FM, I feel that this is when you start to get into an area where you might want to start saving your presets. oftentimes I'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, let me save this preset here, and then I'll build onto it and then resave that preset additionally. Because if you're a preset junkie like me, you can never have too many, because the filter section obviously is super powerful. And the keyboard button is going to activate your keyboard modulation. So when you play more higher sounding notes, it's going to open up more. And when you play more lower sounding notes, it'll be a little bit more tighter for you. Again, this is something that you're going to have to experience and work dependent on your settings in general. Just so creative. Now, obviously in your envelope section right here, you get your attack, decay, sustain, and release. Very, very self-explanatory. You can also sync this to your host DAW if you activate it right there. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you to have more control, syncopation, if you will, to the DAW. All right, I'll deactivate it. So if I wanted to tighten this up a little bit, I could probably, let's take the release and sustain down. And again, you could do so much with very little here. Let me bring the sustain up a little bit and the release just a little bit right there. Oh, absolutely loving it. So, you know, when you're contouring, let's talk about this, the attack, decay, sustain, and release. This is really about maybe in an analog world, it would be your real world performance value, if you will. You know, when you're strumming a chord, you either attack that chord on a guitar gently or more smoothly. So this is going to help you simulate the literally kind of like a real world elements to the performance value, if you will. And unlike the filter, this is going to shape the tones, the actual amplitude structure, when it's attacked, how it decays, when the release happens. And again, just have fun with it. It's kind of self-explanatory, but I like how you can sync it to your tempo here by turning it on like this, to having a more of a syncopated feel, if you will. All right, now following that, we have our speaker section, which we'll get to in a second. I really love this feature. I do. I love this kind of stuff. But we do have an LFO, low frequency oscillator. Let's talk about this. It's really easy. There's nothing really to it other than, you know, you can adjust it from a filter mode or an oscillator mode. You can sync it to the host tempo for more of a vibrato feel, if you will. I love that. So as you see, as your tone progressive, while we're creating it here, you can have options to really reference your track, like the drum tracks here and the host tempo DAW, which is at 110 BPM. And that's why following the filter and LFO and the envelope section is a sidechain section here. Now, what's great about this is it's going to be either post or pre the effects section here. If you put it post, then it's going to be happening after the effects. Pre, it's going to be happening before the effects section. All right. And if you leave this off by default, it's going to have its own internal sidechain, which is going to be more of a 4 on the floor type feel. But of course, you can assign this to an external sidechain so it can work in reference with, let's say, a kick drum or a bass guitar. All right, let's man this post. So following that, as I mentioned, we now get into the tone, coloration, and the effects here. Now, Baby Audio is famous for their effects, and they just make great stuff. And you know I'm a fan. That's why I'm loving the BA-1 here. So it's going to start with tone, drive, delay, and reverb. Talking about tone, this is going to allow you to contour the tonality of it. And again, this is great when you want to fit it in a mix. Bright and dark. So don't forget, there's two ways to make things bright. You can lower the dark, or you can raise the bright level. If you wanted to make something darker, you could lower the bright or raise the dark level, or just have any combination of one. This is just dark. We cut out all the brights. Let's bring in the brights. And take out the darks. Just like that. So this is a great way of helping you fit your virtual instrument tones from BA-1 in your mix. Next, you're going to have the drive section. I really like this because you have overdrive and like a circuit overdrive here. And if you want to really sizzle things up in like a cheap guitar pedal kind of way, this is where you definitely want to add. Now at 0, you're not applying any effects, so it's good. It doesn't have to be on. But let's send it to overdrive and let's have a little fun. Now, if I really push it, it'll get super gritty though. Maybe a little bit goes a long way, right? I mean, let's talk about this. Do you need drive on all the time? Probably not, but it's there when you want it. And again, you have two types, overdrive, and you've got like the circuit overdrive. Okay, and then of course, delay and reverb. Let's talk about this. I'm going to turn my chorus off for now, and let's turn our delay on. So I'll take the length down a little bit, and I'll show you. So I'm not syncing it. I'm not syncing it. That's what I meant to say. You could sync it to your host tempo, of course. By turning it off, you can actually just bring all the values down. And have far, far less. There, I like that value. Let's sync it to our host DAW. Got my glasses on so I can see more clearly here. Yes, that is the sync. Awesome. Again, really creative. You can sync the envelope. You could sync the delay, obviously. And this is often really great when you're working with house music or something where you really want to lock things to the beat and make sure that you're not going to be stepping on other instruments. I love the way this has like a pulsing vibe to it. And of course you got the reverb. And let's bring the chorus on. Notice that the chorus really makes it sound very stereoized. This is without, and this is with. And the chorus is really just a one-button shop here. It's either on or off. And you know what? And sometimes that's really nice. If you want to adjust a chorus, guess what? It's either on or off. You can always apply a different effect later if you wanted, you know, from Baby Audio. But it's nice having that simplicity. I like that. And then, of course, battery, one of the most famous features here, which I think is super intuitive and insightful from the really amazing folks at Baby Audio. This is going to allow you to adjust the simulated lack of voltage, if you will, as the battery is dying. because at 100%, you're running at full battery. The original analog hardware unit allowed you to be plugged into the wall or run on battery for portability. And when you brought on battery for portability, as you know, batteries run out. But as the battery was discharging and getting weaker, here you could simulate that with this lever. And as the energy went down and the voltage dropped, you had really glitchy anomalies. So let's simulate that right now. Here's at full battery capacity. And let's simulate the battery wearing out. Again, just a super creative feature. It's there if you want it. And this is why, again, this is more of an evolution and an innovation than a copying of. I mean, it really is better and in so many limitless ways than the original. And of course, you got your output feature here. And plus, one of my favorite features, which more plugins have this, so thank you, Baby Audio, is the regen button. If I reset everything back to default. Here we go. Just reset it all. Let's see. I saved my presets. I'm super happy. Now I just want to start over from scratch. This is the initial state of BA-1. What I'm going to do now is trigger regen. And this is just going to roll the dice and automatically generate parameters for us. So if you want to jumpstart your creativity super fast and don't want to use the presets, just hit regen. It's going to give you some random settings here. Wow. All right, let's regen again. I like it. Let's regen again. Let's do it one more time. Nice. Again, just a super cool feature. Let's talk about the speaker again. You know, if you noticed here on that, when it regenerated, it actually activated the speaker on that one, which means the final, when the signal flow before the output was simulating this cheap mono speaker right here. You could turn it on and off right here. Here it is off. And here it is on. You can hear that it's a little bit less. What I'm going to actually do now here in my DAW is I'm going to switch to mono to really simulate the mono speaker sound of this. There you go. Let's regen again. Turn my speaker on. I'm in mono. And this is simulating what would really come out of the actual hardware analog little mini cheap speaker in the original unit. There. So the flexibility is incredible. So what I did there is I turned the original analog mini speaker simulation on, and I switched my DAW to play in mono because it was one speaker there that was coming out of this mini portable lap, you know, size unit. You can look it up if you want to find out which model that was. I think it was a Yamaha something. So, but anyway, we're here to talk about the Baby Audio BA-1. I was playing around a little bit earlier, considering that this is a super awesome 80s mod here, virtual instrument. And let's take a listen to this. I jumped in with the Game Boy sound. And let's have a little fun. Now, when we say Game Boy, it's really just supposed to give you an idea that it's an 80s 8-bit type thing. So this is nothing but fun now. And you could go through here, and this is actually one of the presets here under, here we go, Group 5, Plux ARPS, Game Boy Square. And again, you can have fun with this and just play around. Maybe you want to drain the battery a little bit. Perhaps you want to try it with a different preset. Let's go to hard plucks. That actually sounds nice. Again, this is inspired by some of those games that I grew up with in the 80s. There. So you can't go wrong. Literally cannot go wrong. This is such an innovative and creative virtual instrument. And of course, that it came to us via the amazing team at Baby Audio. Let's take a listen to the opening synths from the top again. And this is what we started with. Remember, I color-coded these for my workflow to match the track here. Here's the pink color on track 4. And here's the one on track 5 and the one on track 6. Again, color coding is a great way to have a quick visual for your workflow. All right, let's take it from the top. Again, it's BA-1 is not a drum machine. These are my drum loops, and here's the instrument. So again, the best way is to find out for yourself. I know there's some special deals going on right now. If you don't have it or want to try a demo today, visit the links in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe and become part of our music marketing family today. To get access to hundreds, if not thousands, of pro audio tutorials. And, you know, obviously you can join us on these Let's Talk videos where we dive right in and just talk about what we love most. And that's plugins here in the audio world and music marketing TV. So thank you, Baby Audio. Thank you, Music Marketing TV. Dive right in. Have fun. Stay creative. Stay busy, everyone. My name is Carlo Libertini, and thanks for watching.